and then we'll drive around to collect this. Now, you can do a couple of different things once you gather a crop. Oops. So you can, for example, just take it right away and sell it if you would like. You won't get the best price for it if you sell it right away, but you can still do that if you would like to. You're still going to make some money. Instead of selling it right away, you could store it in your silo and sell it later. So I will just go over here and gather it for now. You also can do other things in it that I would recommend more Academy lessons on if you get the game. But you can also take it and put it into production chains in the game. So in the farming simulator, we have production chains like, for example, a bakery here. So for grain crops, wheat, barley, oat, also rice and sorghum as well, you can make flour with it. So this would be the first step in the production. So you can also do that with your wheat and other crops too. You can put them into production chains and produce them into further goods. And the more that you do that, more often than not, it's increasing your price of what you're getting. So it requires a little bit of extra work, but you're going to get some extra income out of it at the end. So normally I would absolutely not just stop in the middle of a field and leave it partially done. But for the sake of time, we're going to kind of skip ahead here and show you some other things. So while I'm here nearby, we'll show you just one of the ways that you can gather straw as well. So over here we have the Vermeer baler. Now this is a self-driving baler. This thing is pretty cool. But there are several different types of balers in the game. You can make round bales, you can make square bales. There is a lot of variety of stuff you can do. There's over 400 machines and tools in the base game of Farming Simulator 25, which is a lot to deal, a lot to have at the start. You'll have a little bit of everything that you need. In fact, I'll show you the shop window really quick. You can see the vast amount of equipment that you can choose from. There's even specialty equipment for olives, grapes, and other crops too. So Farming Simulator is a game that definitely gives you a lot of variety in the things that you can do. All right, so we want to turn this baler on, and then we want to lower the pickup. And then, you know what, let's go to the cab view here. And you can see in the bottom right that we are gathering straw into the chamber. I'm going to go back out actually here so you guys can see this in action for yourselves. So once we get to 100%, this baler, we will need to stop and it'll unload the bale. There we are. It did not stop in time. Now some balers, like square balers, will allow you to just keep driving, and you can continue to press new bales after you've already created one. But some balers require you to stop and unload before you can keep going and collecting more. Now, again, if you're a new player, I recommend that you don't do this at the start. But I just wanted to show you some of the variety of things that you can do. So we're going to move on from the baling now. Again, I would recommend, if you're brand new, disable the straw swath on your harvester like I showed you a moment ago. Right now you see it in the top left in the help window that you can enable it and disable it. So I would have it disabled, and I would not create the straw if you're brand new to the game. All right, let's jump around here to something else. So after you harvest your field, or if the field needs to be prepared for harvest, there are other jobs that you need to do. So here we have a sower, and this field is ready to be cultivated. But first, what I want to show you is cultivating itself. So there are multiple different ways to do this. There's an entire academy lesson on the different types of cultivation and plowing, so you can learn more about that as well. I highly recommend you read through all of the academy lessons when you first start. Also keep in mind that there's a help window within the game itself as well, and you can get a lot of that same information here in that help window. So here you can see a list of crops and what the icons are, for example. but you also can learn a little bit more as you go through. So if I go back to the help window here, you can see, let me show you. Like here's plowing, cultivating, things like that. So there is some information here. If you want it more in depth, the Academy is the place to go. So right now we're going to be using a cultivator. We can see this field. If you get out on foot and you look at the ground, you can see some field info in the bottom right. So we see that it's field number 8. It's owned by us. It did have wheat on it, but it's been harvested. So now we need to cultivate it and get it ready. You can also see some of the same information from the menu here on the map. So if we switch the filters at the top to growth, we can see that this is like a purplish color, which signifies that it's been harvested. So we are going to unfold our cultivator here. And then I'm going to show you what I think is the absolute best new feature for brand new players of the game in Farming Simulator 25. But on top of that, it's also a great feature for experienced players of the game, and that is GPS or steering assist. Now, we used to have this available in the past from community-created mods for Farming Simulator past versions, but in Farming Simulator 25, you can do it from the start and on all platforms as well. All right, so here we are with our cultivator, but I want to show you first the steering assist, like I said. So we're going to hold down B, that's what it's showing me in the help window, and then we'll get our AI and steering assist settings here. Now, this should automatically map every field in the game to have the most efficient path possible. So you see here, steering assist, that's what we want, that's what we're going to choose. It's automatically finding the width of the tool that we're using, it's suggesting the number of headlands. Don't worry yourself with this information. If you're a new player, you can just jump in and use the automatics, and then over time learn how to tweak things if you need to, but it shouldn't be necessary in most situations. So we're going to turn that on now, and now let me make sure I turn on show lines. This should be on by default for you. So now we can see the lines that the steering assist has created. Now, feel free to work your fields however you want when you first start out playing. But another reason I think that steering assist being in the base game of Farming Simulator 25 is an awesome thing is because it kind of teaches you how to work fields the right way. So, for example, we're doing cultivating, and we want to work basically from the middle of the field in. So I'm just going to pick kind of one of these straights, and then we have these outer ones which are called headlands. Don't worry yourself too much with this information. But you can see the different lines, and I want to start over here with this like small little straight that also kind of blends in with one of the headlands. But how you use the steering assist is you press B to activate the lane, and the line that is currently yellow in front of you is going to turn green, and now we're locked in. So all I need to do is get kind of to the start of the green line here. Right about here is probably good enough, and I want to lower my cultivator, and then the tractor will do the rest of the work for your cultivator. So we're just gonna start driving ahead, and now I don't have to steer anymore. It's gonna steer for me. Now that's a really short line, and we're not gonna work this whole field, so let me show you a longer one just as an example. This next one right next to it is kind of perfect. So let's go over here. Get ourselves set up again, lower it, and it's going to adjust it for us. And now you can see, I'll show the camera, even the controller on the camera. You can see I'm not steering, I'm just holding the right trigger here to give it throttle. I can also toggle cruise control, and then I don't have to press anything at all, and the tractor is still going. So Really, I should have led with this probably, with the harvester, but you now see what the power of steering assist looks like. So if you're doing harvesting, for example, we can jump back to it. You typically would want to start the headlands first. So again, work the field however you want. I started it with by just doing the straights, but feel free to change that if you would like. All right, so earlier at the beginning of the stream, I was just right in the combine harvester, and I wasn't farming the field in the way that you would do it in real life. Now, again, like I said, don't stress yourself if you don't want to. Farm however you want. There's really no wrong way to play this game. But I just want to point out how awesome this steering assist feature is, because it'll teach you how to do the things in the way that you would do them in real life if that's how you'd like to do it. So I already showed you the steering assist with the cultivator. Now we're back here with the combine harvester. So in contrast to the cultivator, where you want to start from the inside or the straights and then leave the headlands or the outer edges for the end, when you harvest, you want to work from the outside in, right? So we're going to start with this headland. And the great thing about headlands, and the reason that farmers do them in real life, is because it gives you space basically to turn around, and it makes sure that you're doing things in the most efficient way. You're not running over the same part of the field, you're not wasting resources, etc. So you can see, like, if I had started going in the other direction that I'm going now, if I had started going this way, that shed would have been in the way. So this is just one of the many reasons that you want to do headlands when you're farming fields. So for the sake of harvesting, we would do all of the headlands first, and we can go back to the steering assist menu, and we can see that there's only one headland on this field to do. Depending on the size of the field, there may be all kinds of them. You can have really an unlimited number if you have a really huge field and you need to do a lot of them. So now we need to just kind of get locked back in. Sometimes you got to be careful because straights and headlands will kind of overlap. You can see my kind of row of shame back there that I missed a little bit on that turn. But that's just a good reminder to say, don't stress yourself out when you first start playing Farming Simulator 25. It's a game, have fun with it. There's no wrong way to do anything. The good thing about it is that it's not real life farming. It is a game. So you're not gonna, not be able to put food on the table, or you're not gonna have to worry about paying your bills. That's all right. You can always start over if you would like to. And there's lots more to learn, and you'll get better over time as you learn. Okay, so let's just finish this one round of headlands here. Now, after we do the headlands, then we can lock into the straight lines, and this would be the most efficient way to harvest your field. So this field isn't very large. We'll have it done in just a moment, so bear with me as we finish this up. We're going to show you a few other things in the lesson today before we're done, but just as a reminder, go to farming-simulator.com, our official website, and click the tutorial link at the top of the page, and that'll take you to the Farming Simulator Academy, and you can see all of the available lessons there. There's more to come to be added to the Academy over time as well. You may still see some information that maybe mentions Farming Simulator 22, for example, our previous PC and console version of the game, but everything translates over pretty much 100% from those lessons into this game. There's also some new crops, rice and long grain rice, spinach, beans, and green beans. Spinach, peas, and green beans, let's get that right. And you can find information about those as well. Okay, so here's all the headlands done. And now you can see we have plenty of room around the sides to work with. And then we would just need to go in and finish the straights. Now, for the sake of time of the stream, I'm not going to do all of this field here. So you can see, though, that headland took care of quite a bit, and we could finish this field without too much more fuss involved. All right, so we were in the cultivator earlier before we jump back to that. So let's go back to the cultivator. So we can see we've just cultivated these few bits here. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to show you how to hire an AI worker. And let's see how they do here. So typically I would recommend that you hire an AI worker at the very beginning of a job. But because I've started on the edges there, you should be fine. So we're going to just kind of sit right here, and we're going to hold down the B button again. This would be H on the keyboard if you're playing on keyboard and mouse, and it'll show that to you in the help window. So in that same menu here, instead of steering assist, we can go to AI worker. You can choose a few different things. We want them to work the headlands. We want them to start with the up and down. And now let's just press OK, and we're going to hire the worker. Now, here in a moment, the worker will be set exactly where he needs to be. So we'll show you that when we're ready. In fact, the worker is ready, and there they go. Perfect. So now I can hop out of this, and you can see that I'm not doing this, right? My character is just kind of overseeing this AI helper that I've hired. Now, you do have to pay the AI helpers a wage, so keep that in mind. Right now, because we're the developers after all, and we're in this stream for you, we have almost 9 million euros in the account. So if you're starting out, you might not have that much money. It depends on how much money you choose to start with at the beginning of your save. So you may not want to be paying the wages of these workers, and maybe you want to do it all yourself. Or maybe you're playing multiplayer with your friends and you don't need AI's help because you've got your friends to help. And that is really awesome too. You can get more done definitely on the farm by either utilizing AI workers or playing in multiplayer with your friends. So this AI worker is handling this so far, so we're going to leave them to it, and we're going to hop over now and we'll show you the next step. So we've harvested, we've cultivated. Now, after cultivating, our next step would be to plant. Now, by default, the game has the crop calendar enabled, and when you start a new save, you'll be in August. So that means you can only do things that the game allows in that month. So since we're in August, you can see here the green color represents the planting season, and the reddish orangish color represents harvest season. So you can see for canola, for example, you can do both in the month of August. So we've already harvested wheat, which of course you can harvest in August, but we can only plant canola, grass, oilseed radish, or poplar in August. And since we're focusing more on the easier crops, and canola is not quite a green crop, but nonetheless we wanted to show you the next step. So after cultivating, you'll want to plant. So let's turn on our steering assist, and look at this. This is going to be maybe the easiest field work that I've ever seen here. We have 2 headlands and 1 straight to get done. So let's lock in like we did before. We have canola selected as the seed, and keeping in mind that it's the only thing that we're wanting to plant and can plant in this month. But you could change the seeds. You don't have specific seeds for each crop in Farming Simulator. You just buy seeds, you put it in your machine, and a little bit of video game magic will allow you to change it into anything. So for us, let's go back to canola. And here we go. So we want to lower the seeder. We want to turn it on, but not quite yet. Let's get closer to the green line. Actually, that is pretty close. So now let's turn it on. And now, when we start driving ahead, you can see how you can just barely see a slight change in the texture. But if you look at the bottom right as well, the canola is slowly going out. Now, different seeds will have different rates of planting, so you may need more seeds for one crop compared to the other. if I remember correctly, canola is kind of like middle of the road. It doesn't take a whole lot of seed, but takes more than some crops. So we've already put 4 liters down just for this one straight. So again, work the fields however you prefer, but if you're using the steering assist, I recommend jobs like this. Start in the middle, and now we'll want to do the inner headland, and there will be some overlap here, but that's okay. If you follow the lines, you won't miss any of the field, as long as you're locked into all of them and getting it in the right spot. So let's now lower this again, and we're locked in. I'm going to toggle cruise control, and we're off here. So this field, you know what? I'm just going to do the whole thing, because why not? So if you start on Farming Simulator 25 on Riverbend Springs, right ahead of us is going to be the starting farm for you. So if you start here, you're going to own these 3 fields right here, and I would recommend that's a good place to start. There's also an Asian map, Bhutan Pantai, and we have a Eastern European map called Sri Lanka that has returned from Farming Simulator 22 and makes our 3rd map up here. So we have all types of parts of the world represented. It's a lovely part about the game. Farming is important all around the world, but it looks different depending on where you are. So this would be your starting farm on this map, but feel free to choose another map if you prefer. So let's keep going here on this field. Get locked into that, lower it again, perfect. Now there are multiple different ways as well to cultivate and plant your fields. This method that we're using here, we have used basically a seeder or planter after using a cultivator. But there's also kind of a what is preferred by a lot of players in Farming Simulator. You can go into the seeder category, and some of these allow you to cultivate as you're planting. And then it'll say that in the information in the shop window. So these 2, for example, if you look, it says these machines are used to seed crops. Additionally, this seeder offers the possibility to seed directly with no previous cultivating or plowing necessary. So feel free to do that if you would like. But the only downside, or the only thing to think about at least, if you want to do that, is those machines require a lot more horsepower than if you were doing those jobs separately. So you may not have a tractor strong enough to pull it. And if I go back to the shop screen here, I'll show you exactly how you can find that information out. If you look below where we were just looking with the name, there's some icons there. If you see like the little engine icon with an exclamation point, right next to it, it says 199 kW / 270 HP. So your tractor needs to have 270 horsepower to be able to pull this machine, 275 for this one, 415, so on and so forth. It's always important for new players to keep this in mind whenever you're looking, and this goes for other things too. Like if we look at the cultivator, it also tells you this one needs 300, that one needs 2, that one needs 110. And typically if you're starting out in the new farmer mode, then you will already start most likely with like a separate cultivator and planter, and you won't have one that direct drills. So I said I would finish this field, but I feel like for the sake of time, I'm going to skip ahead. So we would want to, we've already finished really the inner part there. We only need the outer headland to finish the field off. But let's skip over now. All right, so we've showed you harvesting, cultivating, planting, and after planting, you're going to have to fertilize again. Now, depending on the type of sower, planter that you're using, you may already have some of the fertilizing state done. But here on this field, we started at 0. Now you'll need to fertilize in 2 different states. So I'll quickly jump over and show you that, for example, some of these seeders also allow you to use fertilizer. If you look at the info window down there at the bottom, it shows you the icon for seed and for fertilizer. The fertilizer kind of looks like a little bag with a leaf on it, but you can see that these two, for example, only accept seeds. So if you have one of these types of planters, then you'll be able to fertilize directly. This is the one we used on our field before when we were planting the canola, and it does not add fertilizer as you're going. Now there are some other ways to get your fertilizing states done on your field. I'm not really going to go into those too much today because I feel like that is best left for another lesson later on. But just keep in mind that these are kind of the steps that I would recommend that you focus on early on in the game. You don't need to do all of them. In fact, you can skip the fertilizing if you want. You could let the weeds grow on your field if you want at the beginning too, because maybe you don't have the equipment for it. So really the most important things are, of course, knowing how to harvest and having the tools for those, and also knowing how to prepare your field to be planted to get ready for harvest again. If you really just do those two things, if you harvest, if you cultivate and plant, then you can exist just like that just fine. You'll get a crop at the end that you can store or sell or turn into further production. So again, lots of variety in Farming Simulator, lots of ways to do even the same job in multiple different styles with different types of machines, but there's no way really to go wrong. So you'll find as you play that you'll kind of find what works best for you. So we're just going to kind of finish this out now, and then we'll give you a little bit more information for your journey as you continue on checking out Farming Simulator 25. And hopefully this has been helpful for all of you who have been watching here on our Steam store page. So almost done. Got a little tiny pass here. Just a quick little bonus lesson I can show you. Looking over at the top left in our help window again, you can see like some green rectangles. So for machines like sprayers and fertilizer spreaders, some of them have the ability to change the working width so that you're not wasting the materials. You can see that this is a rather large machine. It goes at the maximum width 36 meters. But if we turn it down maybe to 18, now you can see that only the middle bit of it is dispensing the fertilizer. I don't think that's going to be wide enough though when I get to the end. So let's go 27. Maybe still going to waste a little bit there, but not too bad. And now we finish the field. So there you have it. So Farming Simulator Academy, it's available on our website at farming-simulator.com. We just went over the Crops 101, how to sow and harvest grains: wheat, sorghum, barley, oat, canola, and soybean. So in that Academy lesson, you'll find everything I just showed you visually. Feel free to go read it to compare, and you can check out other ones as well. So we think that these grain crops are the best thing to get started with in the game. If you play with seasonal cycles on, as I mentioned, you're in August and the only grain crop you can plant is canola. You will typically, you always will start, if you're on the new farmer difficulty, you'll start with a combine harvester with a grain header. This is an important reason why we're showing you this, because if you start with that, that's the equipment you're going to have. If you want to get into sunflower or corn, for example, you're going to have to buy a different header. So the grains are the best starting point. You can also create straw from wheat, barley, and oat. And wheat, barley, sorghum, canola, and soybeans can be fed to your pigs. Let's go check back in on our AI worker who was cultivating for us while we're running this down and wrapping this stream up. Sorghum and oat also can be fed to horses. Now on the Academy page, something I didn't go into in this video is also information on each crop, so you can see the average selling price, how many seeds it takes, how long it takes to grow, etc. It also will tell you the equipment that you need. So of course you need a tractor to be able to do things like cultivating and and fertilizing and planting, depending on the machines you choose. You'll need a cultivator like this one that you see the AI helper using at the moment to prepare your field for planting. You'll need a seeder or a planter in the seeds as well, and that will allow you to get ready to plant your crops. You'll need a fertilizer spreader as well if you want to add the fertilizing states. This one is not necessary at the beginning of the game, but I would recommend doing it pretty early on once you're ready. And also, kind of optional, but I would recommend it, you'll need a weeder to get rid of the weeds that start to pop up. Now, we didn't get to show you that step of the process in the stream today, but just keep in mind that there are 3 different levels of weeds. You can read that in the section about weeding specifically. You can go in depth on all of these different jobs that I've mentioned here today. Yeah, and then of course you need the combine harvester with a grain header to harvest your crops, which you'll most likely start with. So, I think that should be just about everything you need. Don't forget, on our website, farming-simulator.com, you can find this Academy lesson more in depth and so much more for all of the crops: peas, green beans, spinach, and rice, and beyond. There are tutorials for that, for our animals as well, for forestry and the machines. There is a lot to learn. I highly recommend that you check it out, and also check out the in-game help menu as well. So that's all for the stream today. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, we really hope that you enjoyed this video and you've learned something, and maybe that's encouraged you to now go try out Farming Simulator 25 for yourself. It's one of those games that has a lot to provide for you. There's a lot of variety of things you can do. We didn't even show you animals or forestry or production chains in this game. If you get into a game of Farming Simulator, you will find that you can just lose yourself in it, and you'll play it for a long time. There really is no end point in Farming Simulator 25. It's sort of like a sandbox for you to get in and do whatever you would like to do in the game. Some people play Farming Simulator and don't even farm, which is awesome too. And we also have in-game mod hub support, where user-created content is submitted to us, tested, and then released and accessible directly in the game. So as you get more and more into it, you can add those in to alter your experience. But as this AI worker here is just about done on the last bit of this headland here, did a fantastic job, by the way, as well. Look at that. This entire field is done. So this AI helper, let's hop out and get out of his way, and we'll kind of sign off here. Thanks for joining us. Keep being awesome, and we'll see you around the farm. Hello everyone, welcome to this special stream here on our Steam store page for Farming Simulator 25. My name's Kermit Ball, Community Coordinator for Giant Software. We are the developers and publishers of the Farming Simulator franchise. We're happy to have you here with us today, and maybe you're hanging out on our Steam store page, you're hovering over that button deciding if this is a game for you. Maybe you've never played the game before, or you've played previous versions and you're interested in something new. But this stream here is going to be aimed more at those players who have never played Farming Simulator before, because we're going to be running down some of the Academy lessons from the Farming Simulator Academy. Now, the Farming Simulator Academy is a tool that we have put together internally at Giant Software and sent out to the community to use, and it basically will teach you the basics of how to play the game. Because Farming Simulator is one of those games that has a lot of variety of things to do, there's a lot to learn as you're starting your Farming Simulator journey. Now, the lessons in the Farming Simulator Academy range from super simple basic things like how to set up your first save game and things like that, all the way up to more complicated lessons in forestry and farming and so on. Today, we'll be focusing on how to harvest and plant grain crops, which for us are kind of like the entry point crop for